Are you tired of not being able to know what the next World of Warcraft expansion is and having to wait until BlizzCon? Well, worry no more, because in this video, we'll be counting down the top 10 ways that you can find out what the next expansion is going to be right here. I don't know where I am right now. But regardless, we're gonna find out. All of this is improvised. Don't fuck. Okay. Number 10. Time travel. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Landon, time travel is literally impossible due to the fabric of reality. To which I say, bullshit. Because Matt Smith does that shit all the time. I mean, there's also a few other people that do it, but Matt Smith did it better than them. Time travel was originally created in the 1980s by a man named Dr. Emmett Brown, and was then ripped off by a man named Rick Sanchez on the very overrated American cartoon series Rick and Morty. Speaking of things that are overrated, this video is now going to be a review of the entirety of My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia is a Japanese cartoon created from the Shonen Jump manga series of the same name, and has grown especially popular in the recent year in the West. Meanwhile, actually good anime like One Piece and other incredibly written action-adventure comedies continue to get cancelled because they take a backseat to these shitty anime series. So much so that the English dub of One Piece no longer has an official center on American television, as it was replaced out for Tokyo Ghoul on Cartoon Network's popular Saturday Night Toonami block, featuring other overrated series such as Dragon Ball Super, the final season of Samurai Jack, and Rick and Morty again. And I wouldn't be surprised if My Hero Academia became another hat thrown into that shit ring. But it's time to back up my claims with logical arguments, something I'm not very good at, so bear with me here. My Hero Academia is mainly a piece of shit because of its plot, which can be summed up through the following. In a classic fish-out-of-water premise, the main character, Gon Freaks, is the only kid in his school without a superpower, in a world where everyone has a superpower. This plot couldn't be stupider, but hold on, because they found a way to make it stupider. While the plot as it is can be fixed through charm and the kid becoming Batman because Batman doesn't have superpowers and yet he's like the best one, it is instead revealed early on in the series that all he has to do is eat another hero named All Might's dick to gain superpowers. After sucking All Might off, Get Freaky obtains the power to punch people. The rest of the show is him going to a very higher end school because of his white privilege. Now just through this, I would like to point out how fucking retarded this premise is. First off, the main character obtaining powers is a very early and heavy twist to the series. This is the result of All Might watching Ferngully as he saves a classmate of his even though he doesn't have a quirk. After which, it's revealed that Gwen Tennyson giving All Might the suck can allow him to obtain superpowers of his own. This is actually not a very bad start to the series. I remember wondering at the time how Gaiga Impact would catch up with everyone else in the show if he is to become the most famous hero of all time. Unfortunately, the way that he acquires the power is just pathetically thrown together. So much so that I could probably come up with a better idea right now off the top of my head. Let's say that quirks are actually an overarching plot in the show, and their popping up in society out of nowhere isn't just something that naturally happens. This could be a very interesting angle to go at, and something that even One Piece doesn't do. Things like devil fruits and quirks should have reasons to exist instead of just people accepting them from the start. There's an anime called Akame ga Kill that's actually good, and in that show, they have these things called Imperial Arms, which are basically just devil fruits or quirks. In that show, however, it's explained that the former king of the country that the show takes place in ordered some sorcery faggotry. In that show, however, it is explained that the former king of the country the show takes place in ordered some sorcerer faggot to make magic weapons that give their wielder powers. Now, I'm not saying this is a fully fleshed out idea, but it's better than nothing, right? So now we have quirks that, according to the show, just pop up from out of nowhere. Let's go to the extreme with this idea and say that aliens implanted them into human DNA through years of infecting the water supply or some shit, and that quirks are actually a virus supposed to destroy humanity. But for the time being, it's spreading into every human until it can finally infect everyone and then kill out the entire population. Now let's say that there's a group of scientists doing studies that find out about this. And what do? I don't know, some stupid experiment shit that goes horribly wrong. Let's say a monster forms from all of these experiments and breaks loose to go rampant throughout the city. Then Nigahiga's friend gets trapped inside of it, and Rice Gum has to save him. And, unlike in the show, instead of being successful in doing so despite not having any quirks, his attempt to save his friend goes horribly wrong and he's sucked inside of the monster. He narrowly escapes and later on realizes he has superpowers as a result. Now I know that was an actually good idea and you're not used to that because you're a fan of this show, but for God's sakes, it's better than what actually went down in the show. And this isn't even the worst part of Kim Jong-un acquiring his powers. After all of this, he goes rocky for a while and trains his body so the new powers don't fucking kill him. And while this could have been used to create an interesting mini arc in the story, all he does is get buff as shit by cleaning up a beach. Why? That's fucking stupid, no. Now we move on to the other part of the premise that's retarded. And if you thought the main character getting his powers were bad, just wait until you get to the high school. The problem with this show taking place in a high school is that it overall doesn't really need to happen in the first place. Once Vladimir Putin acquires his powers, All Might still remains his mentor. Thus, the need for him to train his powers through the teachings of a high school is worthless. All Might is the most experienced and strongest hero in the lore of the show. Alongside this, him and Adolf Hitler share the same power. You see, All Might's quirk, One for All, allows him to be really fucking good at punching people, but that's retarded. So there's also a side ability that he can do where he can pass it down to a pupil, hence the premise. And so this raises the question, why the fuck does Hillary Clinton need to go to a school to teach him how to master his quirk if All Might already knows everything there is to know about the quirk? They even acknowledge this in the show by making All Might one of the teachers. But let's give this show a chance here and go with the high school thing. What fun and entertaining moments happen because of them being in a high school? I'm gonna give you one fucking guess. Two things happen in the show's first and a half seasons. The students have to go through the Chunin exams to test their physical and mental capacities. After this, a tournament takes place. Neither of these things, though, require a school to be present in the plot. In fact, the only time they ever even acknowledge they're in a school is when they're fucking around in class and talking in the cafeteria. Ironically, these are some of the best parts of the show because it shows character development and everyone interacting with one another in comedic ways. Something that still doesn't require a school to exist at any point in the plot. Now, I'm going to do that thing I did earlier where I suggest an idea on how the show could have done this plot better. I'd like to draw your attention to One Punch Man, another overrated anime. This one, however, deserves most of the attention it gets. In this show, the main character, Satan, is the mentor of a robot named Genesis. They are both members of a hero association. Do you see where I'm going with this right now? I always thought the story of One Punch Man was out of place, and that's because My Hero Academia was supposed to take it instead. If My Hero Academia was a classic Batman and Robin type show, where All Might mentored Barack Obama, and they just chilled out in the apartment building like the Odd Couple, and only really ever left to fight the villain of the week, this show would be fucking awesome. And none of you can look me in the eye and say that you wouldn't want to watch that too. Now, before I go too hard on your brains with all of these good ideas, I'll talk about some of the lesser ones you're more familiar with. Despite how much I've been shitting on this show, there are some good things about it. I'm Gonna Fucking Pre's love interest, El Chapo, is a very funny and cute character. And not cute because she's my waifu, we all know that that title goes to Kyoka. Aside from the main characters, I do also like the character design of the villains. That vampire slut with the long sleeves is pretty fucking hot, and the other ones are mostly boring while having cool outfits. And this is all without talking about the show's kick-ass theme song and animation. Overall though, this show has plenty of other small things I don't like about it, but there are also other small things I do like about it that make up for them. Every big complaint I have, I've already talked about, so I'm gonna end the video here. I give My Hero Academia a final score of 50 out of 100. It's a mediocre show at best. But if I had the choice of sitting in solitude for 2 hours, or being able to binge watch some of the episodes of it, I'd still probably just rather be alone with my thoughts. And that's the top 10 reasons this channel is going down the tubes. Join me next time when I review another anime that's been exploding lately. My name is Earl.